The lively noise of children's laughter behind the hut startled Lola awake. Adjusting the wrapper around her chest, she stepped outside to see the neighborhood children trampling over her carefully spread palm kernels. Hey, stop that nonsense. You're scattering my kernels, she shouted, waving her hands in frustration. The children, startled by her sharp tone, scrambled away, their giggles fading as they disappeared down the dirt path. Lola sighed heavily and began gathering the scattered kernels, her heart sinking at the thought of the hard work wasted. Just as she finished, one of the children's mothers stormed into the compound, her voice echoing like the town crier's bell. Lola, so you're shouting at my child. Is it because you have no children of your own to shout at? A barren woman like you. Lola froze, the words cutting through her like a knife. Unable to respond, she stood silently as the woman ranted, then quietly retreated into her hut, her tears flowing freely as she knelt on her mat. As the sun set and the village air filled with the distant hum of drums and evening chants, Timmy returned from the farm with his friend Ade, who was dressed in a faded hunter's tunic with a bow slung over his shoulder, laughed heartily at one of Timi's jokers as they entered the compound. They carried bundles of firewood and the faint scent of the bush clung to their clothes. Lola greeted them quietly and served them a steaming pot of pounded yam with egusi soup, seasoned with bush spices that filled the air with an earthy aroma. After they ate, Lola recounted the painful events of the afternoon to her husband. Timmy, a man of few words but deep kindness, held her hand and said, "My wife, the gods have not forgotten us. Our time will come." With that reassurance, they retired to bed. Later that night, Ade, the hunter, ventured into the forest, his machete strapped to his waist and his bow slung over his shoulder. The forest was alive with the hum of crickets and the distant howl of hyenas. As he stalked a wild boar, he heard voices, faint, melodic, and strange. He paused, crouching behind a cluster of bamboo trees, and peered into the moonlit clearing. Under a towering Iroko tree, three young women sat, their radiant beauty illuminated by the moonlight. Their wrappers shimmered like silk, and their voices carried a magical rhythm. "As for me," said the fairest one, "I will visit the home of Lola and Timmy. My heart ached when that woman called her barren today." "It is agreed then," said the tallest, her voice soft yet commanding. "In 21 years, we will return here to collect our beads and reclaim our place." The women each removed a single coral bead from their necks, kissed it, and buried it in separate spots under the roots of the Iroko tree. They embraced one another, then disappeared into the forest, their laughter fading into the night. The next morning, Ade visited Timmy and Lola with dried bush meat. "This is for my future wife," he announced with a slight smile as he handed over the meat. "Your future wife?" Timmy asked, raising an eyebrow. "Yes," Ade replied confidently. "Very soon, Lola will bear you a daughter, and in time, she will become my bride." Lola and Timmy laughed at his jest, but Ade's eyes held a glimmer of something deeper, something only he knew.